We are recording. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming in on a Monday night. I know we're combining Fit Rock Club and Gold Crushers, but I think it's awesome that we're joined forces here on a Monday evening. So thank you for your time, and really excited to share my takeaways from Bo Eason's Mastermind workshop. So one of the things that I wanted to start off with, because as I go through this content, you're going to realize that what Bo teaches goes beyond just sharing your story. It's much more than that. It's about creating great leaders. It's about you being the best version of you and creating the best, working with the best, being great. And he said in the first day of this weekend, he quotes his favorite author, living author at this point, Steven Pressfield, which, by the way, he is a pretty darn good author. You should pick up his books if you haven't. But he starts off with, what if every person took one step today towards their dream? What would that world look like? And so many of us are held back because of something that has happened to us. And we talk about fears all the time in Beachbody and what we're trying to overcome. But the reality is those are the things that we should share. Those are the things that define us and who we are, and make us who we are, and what will ultimately connect us with someone else. So since we're in a business of relationships, you have to use the things that make up who you are in order to be able to relate to someone else. So one of the first things before, this was actually something we had done when I went out to his workshop, the Personal Story Power event in La Jolla back in October. And he started with the exercise of just take a pen to paper and just start writing defining moments in your life. And they could be anything. I mean, the point of telling your story, there really isn't necessarily one story. There might be one that's more significant or more impactful than another, but all are part of what makes you you. And there are plenty of stories to share in your life, right? So life is a book, right? We're still writing it. So take a pen to paper and write down your defining moments. Just anything. It could be whether it's something that's really difficult to talk about. Maybe it's a joyous thing. Maybe it's just like winning a basketball game. Who knows? Like, it could be anything. But write it down, because if it's something that is important to you, one way or another, you're going to want to be able to use that in connecting with people. Then, out of those defining moments, those stories, pick one, pick two maybe, but pick one for sure. And the task is to, for 7 minutes, set a timer and just write out that story. Don't worry about punctuation, spelling things right. Don't type it, write it. Put pen to paper, and 7 minutes. Set a timer and just start writing your story. Just let it all out. Because part of telling our story is that there is emotion, and we want to make sure that in addressing the emotions, you're not dumping all of that out to someone. That's not what we want to do. But in also sharing it, and whether it's something that we're putting out to the social media or whatever, or just this exercise of 7 minutes and just writing your story, it's a healing process. Because a lot of times, our stories aren't always the most glamorous and exciting to share. That's why we don't share them, right? So you go through some healing with it as well. So 7 minutes, just write your story out. Just brain dump on a paper rather than to social media. Then take 7 minutes and tell that story from someone else's perspective. There's always someone else involved in your story. So write it from someone else's perspective. And it's obviously your perspective of what they put out to you and how you interpret it. But you want to get inside someone else's perspective of the story. And then again, 7 minutes, set a timer. And then for the third part, tell the story, again, 7 minutes, put a timer on, and tell it like it's a fairy tale. Once upon a time. Add Dungeons and Dragons and princesses and long hair and ghosts or goblins, whatever. Make it a fairy tale and see how it changes it and how it gives you a new look into something that you only have seen one-sided for so long. Okay. So that's first off an exercise to do. And you could do that with multiple stories and know that your story will evolve and will change over time. So don't feel like you have to stick with just one. But use that as a tool and how you're going to develop it. And ultimately, because again, this is a relationship business, you need to connect with people. So lay out connective tissues for people to follow you. That's why we're sharing a story. Numbers don't help us, like when it's just flat and dry, no one connects and relates to that person, right? So it's when they start showing a little personality, showing that they're not perfect. So lay down those connective tissues. Recognize that your dreams let me actually quote this here. It says, I recognize your dreams and I'm here to help make them come true. So as a team, we are here. And as Bo always talks about, players only. This is it. We're the best. We're players. So only players come in and we are shoulder to shoulder. So we're shoulder to shoulder and we lean on each other. So we lean on each other as a team, but that's also what your customers are going to do too. They're going to lean on you. You are here for them. You've got their back. So you are here to make and help make someone's dreams come true. You can't do it for them, but you're here to help them. And be unapologetic about it. Know that this is who you are. This is what you're sharing. This is what you have to offer. And they're in or out. Work with the willing. And I think that's a really hard thing to understand for coaches, particularly newer coaches, or maybe some who are struggling because they want so bad for that like success club point. And I do. We all think about it like, oh my God, I need to have success club points. We all go through that. And yes, success club points are vital to our business. It helps us grow our business. But also remember, you got to work with the willing. If they're not ready, that's okay. Move on and be you. Because ultimately we can't, you can't drag someone else across the finish line. I can't drag you across the finish line. You have to do it. I'm here to help you, but it's up to you. You have to do that. And knowing that that's, again, from your story, what you put out there to ultimately saying, look, this is how I'm going to play. Are you in or out? And have faith in the process. We have a structure in this business, in network marketing, really, that works. And people feel the need to deviate from it. And, or for whatever reason, maybe they're just having a hard time grasping it. And that's fair too. But there's a process to it, and have faith in the process. See where your goals are, see what you have envisioned, and just keep going. You have to fall, you have to fail in order for you to have success. You might have to take a few steps back in order to move forward. That's okay. Embrace it. It's now part of your story. Pick up after you fall down, right? I mean, it's all about that journey. That's what we tell our customers, right? It's the journey. They're not going to lose 100 pounds overnight. They're going to have good days and bad days. And so are you as a coach. So trust the process. Know that you're making progress. I will sit here today and say, I'm mad, I'm still just diamond. Like I went into my first summit as a diamond, and I'm like, I'm going to be 5-star diamond by my second summit. And I wasn't even 1-star. I was still diamond at my second summit. And I'm still at diamond. But you know what? It's just, I don't need to compare myself to anyone else on this road. This is my story. This is my journey as a coach. And I now see and set goals. And now I'm going to tell my team, you come play with me. This is what we're going to do. And that's what you have to do in again, your story connects to leadership. Couple of things that I like, just little thoughts that I was writing down. Bo is very big on the practice. He teaches you to work and move like a predator. So it's all about prepare, perform, and recover. So your day is in alignment with that. And he's like 95% of it is the practice. You look at, Super Bowl's coming up, right? Those teams know that that is happening every year. And what are they doing? They're practicing every day. So being the pro, you are ready as soon as that tap happens on your shoulder. As soon as you are presented with someone who's like, hey, what's this Beachbody thing going on? Bam, you're ready. So you're practicing. You're always ready. You're ready to go. So it's 90% the practice. It's all the ins and outs. It's the personal development. It's, if you're not familiar with the invitation process, record yourself and practice on a person, practice in front of the mirror, get it. It's you're mastering your art to do your job to the best of your ability. And then the 10% is the game, which really is just like that, just doing that invitation process. That's the quick part. As soon as you know what you're doing, fall in love with the practice. So that means it's the ups and it's the downs, and it's, like the no's. And here's something that he said, I thought was really poignant for Beachbody coaches. The only no that counts is the no you accept. So just keep moving. We talk about no's all the time. Who's going to get the most no's? It just gets you closer to a yes, right? So it's not a rejection on you. I was, so we have an opportunity to talk to one of Bo's team members is a therapist, and a lot of, emotions come out in these stories, and it's a healing process. So, therapy is involved. And I was talking with her. I'm like, I'm pretty much in a good state. I feel like I want to utilize you. Her name's Joan. I'm like, I feel like I want to utilize you, and I don't really know what to ask you and stuff. I feel pretty good. And so we just got to talking, and we talked about these fears. We talk about in Beachbody, fear of rejection, fear of failure, and fear of success. And she made a really good point that the rejection isn't on you. The rejection is in the opportunity. So you always have to go back to like, well, what is their why? Have they ever had a disappointment in their life ever before? I'm sure they have, right? We all have at least have had one bad thing happen to us in our life, right? How did we come out of it? How did they come out of it? Did they overcome that? And then the second thing is what is their resolve to overcome the trouble? So know that the rejection, the no, is not on you. It's what's internal for them. And you just keep going because you have your goal. You have what your vision is. And no one should take that away from you. Your dream is sacred. Act like it's sacred. Treat it like it's sacred. And don't ever devalue your story too. Don't let anyone ever tell you that there's something wrong with it. It defines who you are. And you are here right now as a coach saying, I have dreams. I have goals. I want to help people. Crap, that stuff makes me cry. Like, seriously. Like, that's why we're coaches, right? So don't Don't ever devalue your story. As much as you want, you are scared shitless to tell it, just tell it. You know, find healing in it, do the practices like I mentioned before, and just write it out, put pen to paper and work through it. But that's what is going to make you connect with someone else, because we all have the same tools, but it is you that is going to make it different for why someone comes to you versus another coach. And your story, when you use your story, it is refutable. People will locate themselves in your story. That's how you connect. You fall in love with it. And like, again, it could be that one defining moment. Maybe it's a few things that you want to share. Use that and spice that out into your posts and what you want to put out there to the masses. It's okay to have more than one, but fall in love with it. As difficult as it is, maybe. I mean, and some people have really hard stories. I mean, I worked with a guy this weekend, and his story is that he found his 15-year-old daughter hanging in her closet. Like, that is some serious crap to come and overcome. And you know what? He's happy. He's like, she's in everything I do. So it's just a healing process. And it could also be a more joyous type story, and that's fine too. It's what's going to make you you. But overall, together we work and we stand shoulder to shoulder. Bo is so adamant about creating great leadership. And this is our opportunity as coaches. We can take our health and fitness journey to a whole new level of how we can be great leaders for the people around us. Lost people just aimlessly walking around like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? And it's true. Everyone's like stuck on following the Kardashians. Like, who the hell cares about them? Find something meaningful and get people to say, yes, I want you. And that's what you use your story for. And finally, two things. The one quote that I thought was beautiful is, she has the magnitude to attract others because she takes delight in herself. So use your emotions to connect with people. Emotions coming out equals healing. Love who you are, and that will connect with other people. So again, she has, or he, however you want to say it, but she has the magnitude to attract others because she takes delight in herself. I asked my success partner, Tanner, to come on the call because he and I met in La Jolla in October. So we were a part of that personal Story Power event. And then he also joined in on the Mastermind. So for those of you who aren't totally familiar with it, Mastermind is the year training that you can do with Bo. So we went to this weekend seminar in La Jolla, which was just, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then from there, we chose to do a year training with Bo, and that's into the Mastermind. And so Tanner did the December workshop. I did just this one, last week. And I just thought to give some different insight and perspective from a male perspective, just another voice of what you can take away from this. I invited him onto the call. So I think, Tanner, I think you can unmute yourself probably, or Ken, do you need to do that? I don't know. But I just want to if you can unmute Tanner. And I just wanted to give him a few minutes too, to just give some insight, because I know he had some good takeaways as well.
All right, Tanner, I think you're muted now. Can you try talking?
Okay, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
We gotcha.
Fantastic. So thanks, Kayla. That was awesome. And definitely some notes that I wrote down and took away from that as well. She touches on all the points. I went into Bo, and I think her and I had a similar thought we were going to Bo to learn how to speak better and to connect with people better. And I came out of there going, wow, this was just after the 3-day, just in regards to leadership, in regards to being vulnerable, in regards to really, truly connecting with people. And I realized that you don't separate those two. Once you tell your story, once you share who you are, once you start opening up to people, you're doing that for a reason, and you're leading people where you want them to go. So I didn't realize that connection until that weekend, and even further with the mastermind, just the ability to open up. And as Kayla mentioned, it is therapeutic, and a lot of people don't really want to dig into that. And a lot of people go, oh, I don't have a story. I don't have this. I don't have a defining moment. And I'm going to suggest, and I've done a lot of work outside of Bo with personal development, and I'm going to suggest that we all have at least one thing, likely a handful of things that happened at an early age. We may not remember the things early on. I'm going to say somewhere between 6 and 12, 6 and 13. When we start figuring out the way the world works and what's going on, there's something that happens, and it can be extremely traumatic, or it can be something as simple as like, I didn't get chosen on the basketball team, or I didn't get this, or I didn't get that sticks with you and defines how you act and operate. And so I would invite you to dig into that. And going through this process, personally for me, my defining moment is my parents getting a divorce at 13. And like that, I look back at that and I didn't realize what an impact that had on me. I thought, well, this happened. I didn't really have a relationship with my father after that. And that's since all changed, because I've opened up and really looked at, okay, what did I take away out of that, and how can I use that? And now I'm working on a platform to speak to men about relationships and self-awareness and all of these things that I've had to overcome. So I went into this going, I don't really know what my story is. I was fairly closed off and really didn't want to take a look at it. And once I took a look at it, I've realized how much is there. So that's a big thing. And I think just being vulnerable and truthful with people creates a safe space. And I've seen it time and time again, because less than 2 years ago, I pretended everything was perfect, everything was okay, and I was invisible to people. I mean, I thought that everything's fine and it's cool and people like me. Nobody knew who I was. I was invisible to people. And it's not until I really just opened up and I'm like, hey, I've had some struggles. Here's some challenges. Here's some dumb stuff that I've done. And all it takes is for me to mention maybe one or two things and just be real with people. And all of a sudden the door opens and they feel safe and they feel like they can share with me. And that's benefited me tremendously in my Beachbody business by just really getting past the surface with people. It's not real glamorous to have to talk about, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds. Hey, I did this thing. Hey, I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel worthy that I can look this good or lose this weight or deserve this business opportunity. And so really just coming from your perspective and sharing and being real with people, it draws so much out of people and I've just seen the tremendous benefit. So really getting comfortable with yourself allows others to get comfortable with you. And one of the things, and Kayla touched on a little bit just in terms of magnetism. And one of the big things that I took away from that is, if you fall in love with yourself, others will fall in love with you. Like if you are just good with who you are and where your life is, people will connect with that, and people will understand and accept that it's okay for them to be who they are and where they are as well. So that's definitely been a big thing. The other thing, and again, I didn't realize going into this how much it was really kind of digging into the past and unearthing some things that aren't so glamorous. However, one of the other notes that I wrote down was just feel the pain of being a loser to become a winner. Like you have to go through something. You have to have some sort of scar tissue to know what it's like to be where you don't want to go, to give you a drive to where you do want to go. And if we think about people that we see talking, I mean, leadership is not being polished. It's not being perfect on stage. One of the things Bo talks about is, he says a lot of people come to him and want to know, how do you get rid of stage fright? How do you get comfortable with this? How do you get over this? And he has a one-man Broadway play that he's performed over 1,200 times. And he said, every time I step out there, I'm nervous. He, you know, speaking in La Jolla, he said, I'm nervous standing on stage. I feel the nerves and I do it anyway because great things come from that. So it's not a matter of how do I get past those feelings. It's a matter of how do I use those feelings. And Kayla touched on it a little bit about it's not dumping on people. It's not like pouring out the saga of your past. That's where really getting comfortable with your story and having some practice becomes valuable, to be able to be comfortable and tell somebody that is not so comfortable and just be okay with it, because that allows them to be okay with your story and to be okay with their own story. So that's definitely a big one. And to go back to the point I was making, if we think about people that we connect with, what was it? Steve Harvey that made the big faux pas on TV or whatever. I mean, think about how much publicity that got versus how do we connect with politicians? I mean, does anybody really relate with the politicians and the debates that are going on when they're standing up there and they have these very polished answers and everything has to be perfect and curt and a certain way? No, we connect with the people that get up there and that forget their lines and stumble through the speech, and because they show that they're human, and that's really the connecting tissue. To go back to what Kayla talked on about having some sort of connective tissue. Hold on. What's up, baby?
I want to get out.
Okay, give me like 5 more minutes, please. Okay, I may have to cut this short. There's like a whole bunch of people. Do you want them to see you naked on the? Okay, my 5-year-old daughter just came out in the room naked. So that's life, right? So just let's see a couple more things to wrap this up. I think just going back to the connective tissue. So the other thing around that is connecting your story. I told you to remember about this, and can you give me 5 more minutes and then I'll be done? Okay. Really connecting your story to your molecules. So Bo suggests or recommends practicing your story when you're running, when you're in the shower, when you're doing dishes, when you're working out. Like, practice those things that you want to say. And okay, sounds good, baby. And it comes back to the whole preparation piece and really being prepared. And so now when I meet people and I start talking and I launch in and I say, when I was 13 years old, my dad left the day after Christmas for what I thought was a one-day business trip. He never returned, Like, it just rolls off of my tongue because I've practiced it so much. And when I open with that and like tell people that story and it hits them, and it's like, wow, you're so comfortable with you talking about, your dad basically leaving and this tragic incident in your life. And I'm like, well, yeah, because all of these great things have come from this and I've done a lot of work on it. So that only comes through practice. I thought I had dealt with a lot of that. And then I stepped in and really dug into the story and I was right back. I was right back in it. So it's really good to just become comfortable with your story, which then brings us back around to the point of once you love yourself, everybody else is going to fall in love with you. And then the last point on that is really the other thing that I took away, and that I actually made this note that Kayla reminded me of, be an underdog somewhat in your story. I mean, it's not victim, it's not poor me, it's woe is me. However, think about David and Goliath or any sort of, major duel in history. We always root for the underdog, right? We want the underdog to win. So think about your story and think about how you were the underdog. And that's what Bo's play is called Runt of the Litter. It was how he was always the small one, how he was always second in sports to his brother who was much more famous, and how he turned that story around to be something of benefit to him. So I'll leave you with that and just think and remember, we all have a story. We all have defining moments. We all have those things like Kayla mentioned that we've overcome, and so does everybody else. And that's the common denominator, is that we've all overcome something. So figure out how you can connect with people on that, and then how you can help them achieve their goals.
Thanks, Tanner.
Absolutely.
And the one thing that when the two of us were talking about just kind of going and preparing for the call tonight, Tanner was actually the one who reminded me of this though. But once you tell your story, time is endless. Like when you get comfortable with this and you start realizing that like, hey, this is where I'm at. Like this is good. And this is how I'm going to run my business. And this is the kind of people I'm looking for. This is who I want to work with because this is who I am. Then time is endless. Like the timeline goes away. Just some backstory too. Like my story is how I called off my wedding. And there I am thinking like as a little kid, the only thing I wanted was to be married. I wanted to be married. I wanted to be a mom. I didn't want a career. And then I end up with a career. And my whole life has been like, well, why isn't this other thing happening? But once I got comfortable with what my life was and what my story was and my reality, and that I actually really like my career, like now that it's endless. Like the timeline is totally gone and I have a whole life ahead of me and I'm okay with that, So know that there really is comfort in addressing these things that we as humans are in nature to hide and just push down and not really deal with. But bringing it out will actually help you to connect more with people. So, so that's kind of the lowdown. And again, just to reiterate, the story is what helps create leadership. And that is what we are together as a team here, Beachbody. Like our two teams to a bigger team of Beachbody to whoever else is going to come into this fold, whoever we're going to help, the story equals leadership. So your story equals leadership and they go hand in hand. So, hey, Tanner, just mute yourself.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the clock too, and I wanted to at least leave some time to see if anyone had any questions, anything that comes to mind you want to share. We are here for you as a team. We are shoulder to shoulder, so we work together and we've got each other's back. So if anyone needs to share anything or ask any questions, feel free. So.
Hey, Kayla, I just wanted to say something really quick. So
Yeah.
when I got to see Bo, if anybody doesn't know who Bo Eason is, you can Google him. You can actually see YouTube videos of him. But he was a NFL player turned Broadway star, and now he does this. He teaches people how to tell their story. And if you've ever known someone, say you've known someone for 5 years, and then one night you were at a party and you guys got talking, and all of a sudden you started to find out who they are and what makes them tick and things like that. All of a sudden you have this connection that you'll never forget about because now you know their story, you know why they are who they are, and that's what he's trying to teach people to do. Share with people in your life and on social media who you are by your story. Kayla and Tanner were talking really well about a big story, like your main big story, but you have stories that happen every day. Like Tanner just had a great story of how he was on a call speaking in front of 20 plus people and his daughter came in the room naked. That is a story. That's a part of his life. If he puts that on Facebook, people are going to connect with that. He's going to get likes, things like that. So that's what we're talking about is just pick out little chapters of your life, days of your life, events of your life, and share them on Facebook, share them with your friends. The more you share, the more people are going to connect with you. And when you do want to talk to them, they'll be like, they feel like they know you. I go to a bar down the street and I have people coming up to me, talking to me like they're my best friend. I have no clue who they are. I don't think I've ever talked to them, but they watch me on social media and they're friends of friends. And I just take the free drinks and I just go with it because I'm happy,
No, it's because you're walking into the room naked all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
With a bucket on his head. I
Well,
think, yeah, go
Taylor,
ahead.
I'd like to pipe in and say thank you to both you and Tanner for sharing this information. This is awesome information. Most of you weren't at the summit a couple years ago where Eric Worre came in and spoke to our team privately before the summit actually started.
Yeah.
And one of the things he talked about was practicing your story, practicing why you are a coach, or why you started this particular fitness program or whatever. And he said, think about it this way. We all go to school for 2 or 4 years, and then we get our job and we get continuing education and training in that job. I mean, we spend a lot of time training and practicing for the thing that's going to put money in our pocket, but ultimately build someone else's dream. Yet we don't spend any time practicing the one thing that is going to give us access to limitless income and build our own dream. Like, come on, why are we doing that? Take 5 minutes a day, take 10 minutes a day, and practice your story. Practice saying what you're going to say. And that practice also includes getting out there and talking to people and failing and saying the wrong thing and saying the right thing and them still saying no. You just get better at it. You just get better at it. That's all there is to it. You just got to do it over and over and over again, and you get better at it. So I love that you guys were talking about practicing, because that's so vital, so vital. I'm going to say 2 quick more things here, and then I'm going to get off here. But in a little bit, I'm going to put a piece of recognition up on both our Goal Crusher team page and on Ken and Trenny's page. It's a pretty big piece of recognition. So I'd love for you all to check it out and go over to their page, their respective Facebook pages, and just blow them up, because it's going to be really, really cool. And the second thing I wanted to say was, I know a lot of you couldn't make the Jimmy Nelson training this Saturday morning. And several people came to me and said, can we do something about it? So I'm going to put something together. It's going to be a roundtable discussion. We're going to go through the points that Jimmy covered. And I'm going to ask the people that were on that call or have been to some of these trainings before on Saturday mornings to join in. And we're just going to have a little discussion about each one of those points. So I'm going to put that up on the Goal Crusher page tomorrow, because we want today to be all about recognition, and we'll go from there. All right.
Okay. So, like, cool. Well, thanks, Paul and Ken. Thank you both for just setting up the group call and getting a Zoom and everything set up. I appreciate so many people came on this too, and that means a lot to me to see that it's something that you are interested in, you're connecting. If you feel like you need to talk individually, by all means, just shoot me a message. I'm happy to help you on a more, individual and personal level. But it really is something that is so powerful. I mean, that's why it's called personal story power. There's such power in it. And I challenge you to find a way to work with Bo Eason. I 100% believe in what he's doing. And probably, I mean, everyone knows how much I love Chalene Johnson and how much I've done her training. I will say, hands down, he surpasses that for sure in just ultimately what you can do in your life. Just to wrap up, one thing that I didn't actually mention before, but this is pretty cool, and then we can say goodnight. He tells the story of the sperm making it to the egg. It's like 300 million to 1, and you were born. Like you came about. So that is crazy odds, but here you are. So go and live your dream. Go and do what your purpose is. It's your life. It's your story. It's everything that has made you who you are today. And now you are going to go out and plant that seed and go and give it to everyone else. So embrace it. You beat some crazy, ridiculous odds. That one sperm found that egg and you are here. So that's a beautiful thing, right? So don't take that for granted. Use it. Make that your power, and be amazing. Be the best. Be great. Be rock stars. And like I said, I'm here if you want to talk on a one-on-one. So anyway, thank you for your time, and let's make February awesome. It's Team Cup month, so let's get our rock stars going. So anyway, thanks guys.